Thank you very much, Emily. Okay, we are in the home stretch here, and it is my pleasure to introduce one of the attorneys who worked on the Coronobus case of Fred Korematsu. He's currently the leader of the Stop Repeating History campaign, Mr. Don Tamaki. Give it up.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here, and it's a real honor to be before you, because I know that you guys are the hardcore folks. You are serious, because it is freezing out here. And I'm told that there were 17 speakers, and yes, I am the 17th. So congratulations for hanging in there. I want to give you a little background, at least on the legal front, and then how it sort of merges with what's happening today. So, as Zara mentioned, you know, in a 5-4 decision in June, the Supreme Court in Trump versus Hawaii, the travel ban, upheld the barring of the entry of people from certain Muslim countries. Invoking national security, the government claimed that the Homeland Security report justified detaining U.S. residents having nothing to do with terrorism, separating families, and canceling validly issued visas for refugees literally running from terror. However, not only did the government refuse to reveal this report, it also asserted that the court must bow to the will of the president, giving him near absolute authority to impose, in Justice Sonia Sotomayor's words, an exclusionary policy of sweeping proportion. Citing Trump's speeches and tweets replete with anti-Islamic animus and calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. Critics of the travel ban said this has little to do with security, but instead was a bigoted Muslim ban that he had promised his base. Echoes of 1942, when 120,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry were incarcerated. Against the challenges of Fred Korematsu, the government exhorted the court to take the government's word for it that Japanese Americans posed a danger to the nation and should be locked up. Shamefully, as you know, the court complied, asking no probing questions and abdicating its role as a check and balance on the executive branch. And the result was a civil liberties disaster. The gravity of the court's surrender was not fully known until 40 years later, when secret World War II era Justice Department documents and intelligence reports surfaced, admitting that Japanese Americans had committed no wrong, posed no threat, and characterizing the Army's claims that Japanese Americans were spying as, quote, intentional falsehoods. These reports were never presented to the court, having been suppressed, altered, and destroyed. Now fast forward to the court's decision in Trump versus Hawaii, wherein Chief Justice John Roberts declared, quote, Korematsu was gravely wrong the day it was decided, has been overruled in the court of history, and to be clear, has no place under the law, under the Constitution. But in the same breath, Roberts dismissively concludes that Korematsu had nothing to do with the travel ban. Worse, despite Trump's overtly anti-Muslim statements, Roberts accepts the government's word for it, that targeting travelers from Muslim-majority countries is necessary for the nation's safety without requiring the government to disclose the official report it claimed to be the factual basis for the ban. Sotomayor described the court's blind deference to the president as an affront to the judiciary's role as the independent third branch of our checks and balances system of democracy, urging, quote, our Constitution demands and our country deserves a judiciary willing to hold the coordinate branches of government to account when they defy our most sacred commitments. The parallels between Korematsu and the travel ban are disturbing. Both arose out of war on terror, World War II. Both featured the government invoking national security as a shield from judicial scrutiny. Both had abundant evidence of prejudice expressed by high officials against a targeted minority. Both involved hidden intelligence reports that the government refused to disclose. And both ended with the court failing to question whether such a sweeping deprivation of fundamental freedoms were necessary for the nation's safety, or instead were merely the fulfillment of racist policies and campaign promises that were made earlier. Ever more emboldened, Trump has tweeted no due process for undocumented immigrants, including those lawfully seeking asylum. We heard of one speak today. So even Laura Bush is connecting the dots, stating, quote, "Our government should not be in the business of warehousing children in converted box stores or making plans to place them in tent cities." These images are eerily reminiscent of the internment camps for U.S. citizens and non-citizens of Japanese descent during World War II, now considered to have been one of the most shameful episodes in U.S. history. If neither the courts nor Congress will hold this president accountable, and if the people no longer have a common understanding of facts, of what facts are, because due to Trump's assault on journalists daring to expose the truth, then folks, this is how dictators get started. What do? Well, speechifying, like I'm doing, is not going to get the job done. Here's one example of actions that people can take. Get involved in key swing battleground districts. Now, I realize that most of us cannot travel to the Central Valley or Southern California or Florida or the Midwest to register voters or to engage in voter education. But we can give and raise money. You have $25? Throw a party for you and your friends. Charge each $25, $5 for the booze, and $20 to support voter registration and voter education in a swing district. Yes, this takes our commitment, it takes our sacrifice, it takes some pain, and to be sure, it takes some of our time. But this country is going in a dangerous direction. History is repeating itself, and the country needs you, and our commitment needs us. And we need to remember that in making this commitment, in making things right, nothing is free. Remember the words of Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist. He said, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will." You may not get all that you pay for in this world, but you must certainly pay for all that you get. So we are here today, tonight, in this freezing cold, to make a down payment for justice. Are you with me? Yeah! We are going to make tonight our down payment for justice. We're going to do what generations have done before us. We're going to stand together. We're going to march together. We're going to organize together. But we're also going to do the work that's necessary to change this culture, to change hearts and minds, and take this country back from the brink. There is no time to lose. Doing nothing is not an option. Let's get busy. Thank you.